ผู้ชมคะความรุนแรงที่รัฐยะไข่ยังถูกจับตามองอย่างมากนะคะในสายตาของประชาคมโลกค่ะจากนี้ไปแนวทางการแก้ปัญหาควรจะเป็นอย่างไรนะคะหลังจากเกิดความรุนแรงไม่ต่ำกว่า2 เดือนแล้วโดยเฉพาะชะตากรรมของผู้คนโรฮิงญาวันนี้ผู้รู้จากสหรัฐและจากแคนาดานะคะจะมาร่วมกันแลกเปลี่ยนเป็นผู้ที่ศึกษาเกี่ยวกับชะตาชีวิตของคนโรฮิงญามาต่อเนื่องกันหลาย10 ปีทีเดียวค่ะท่านแรกนะคะดร.ฮาบิบ ซิดิกิตผู้อำนวยการศูนย์ค้นคว้าวิจัยเกี่ยวกับอารากันพม่าเป็นนักเคลื่อนไหวด้านสิทธิมนุษยชนค่ะอีกท่านนะคะดร.อาบิด บาฮาจากแคนาดาเขียนหนังสือเรื่องดังนะคะพม่าที่สูญหายและวิเคราะห์เรื่องการปรองดองและการสร้างอนาคตของกลุ่มชาติพันธุ์ในพม่าค่ะ Thank you both of you for joining us in ตอบโจทย์
It's a pleasure.
With the recent movement regarding Rohingya issue, the OIC has just been granted by President Thein Sein to send a team of OIC team to provide needed assistance in Rakhine State. Is it too late, too little?
It's better than nothing. Let's put it that way. Myanmar has been a very closed society for many years. It has not allowed any foreign journalists, even they have taken out the NGOs and other human rights groups that were responsible at one time or another to look after the rights of the minorities. So even though, for example, we would have loved to see that Myanmar government had allowed foreign journalists, including, for example, outside investigators, whether it is from OIC or United Nations or even ASEAN. The point is, it has to investigate as to what caused the latest kind of violence that led to the extermination of so many people. You know.
Yes, please.
I think it's a small step, but it's a good step because Myanmar didn't allow outside observers humanitarian assistance for a long time, and this type of operation has been going on for a long time, and allowing OIC to distribute humanitarian goods and assistance is a first step, but there is a problem. If those people who are trying to pressure Myanmar government, if they slow down, if they think that's a great one, it's going to be bad. We have to keep up the pressure so that Myanmar opens up, not just in the mainland Burma, but all over. Because in the mainland there is kind of democratic reforms, whereas in Arakan it's like mobocracy, mob rule. You can't allow that. It has to be, if it is reform, it has to be all over Burma.
Yes. Who should be under pressure the most? Myanmar government, Bangladeshi government, or neighbors, ASEAN countries? Who should be the most under pressure?
Obviously, it is to start with Myanmar government, because this is where the incident happened. And as Dr. Bahar has mentioned, this was not the first time that this kind of extermination campaign against the Rohingyas have taken place. So it has to start from Myanmar. They have to address why this kind of incident has occurred and how they could probably redress this issue so that it does not become a recurrent issue like it has been going on since, at least around 1948 when the country came into existence. Then obviously, as far as the neighbors are concerned, like Thailand and Bangladesh, who were some of the closest kind of neighbors that had at one time or another allowed some refugees to get in. So they have to also take some responsibility about, addressing the issue. Because if, for example, this refugee problem continues, it's not only a problem for the Rohingyas themselves, but also about the places they go in. Like it creates all kind of problems, environmental, social, economic, political, the total unrest in the region, So all those countries have to really take this matter very seriously.
But so far, the reaction of President Thein Sein seemed not quite welcoming. He said Rohingya people should be put in the third country and UNHCR should come in to help solve the problem. You think does it make sense?
Well, you see, Thein Sein is a former military general, and he has civilian dress, but he's all over a military person. It shows from his statement, which is just a carbon copy of what Nevin's generals would have done. So we can't trust him as a babysitter for Rohingya people. He would be seen, the statement he made, if he didn't make this statement, he would be qualified to get a Nobel Prize.
You think it's predictable that his reaction is this way?
Exactly, that is ridiculous. But the thing is, we have to be very careful. The pressure should be, the question, to answer your question, should be not just on the president. It should be also with Aung San Suu Kyi. Because she's a Nobel Prize winner. Her father was a great Democrat, and she comes from a great family background, and she also has this international award. She personally suffered too in her life, and just her silence makes us very surprised, because Rohingyas, when the military-backed government was not giving them protection, the only shelter Rohingyas could have was the opposition leader and the international conscience that Aung San Suu Kyi provided. And she was silent, and it was like shattering of the whole thing.
What can she do more?
Well, she said something like ethnic minorities should be protected. But she, in the beginning, she was saying that she didn't have much information about Rohingya people. It's almost like I don't know my neighbor, or I don't know that I have a brother or a sister, that type of thing. So that surprised us. One more thing, if I can add, when we have a discussion or anything, Rakhine should be brought in the negotiation table, because there is a triangle which is Rohingya, Rakhine, and the Burmese. So if you don't bring one in the discussion table, you ignore a big chunk of it. So Burmans, which is the majority group, which is trying to control or dominate Arakan, and by doing favoritism to the Rakhines, which is which works like Rakhines have hijacked the whole Burma by saying we are Buddhist, we are racially the same type of people. But in a democratic country, you can't do like that. So Rakhines has to be brought in always.
In my opinion, the issues around how, for example, Thein Sein reacted to the whole thing, saying that, okay, let's put this Rohingya issue as a third world, they can go to a third country, or, for example, UN should take care of them because we simply don't recognize them. This particular theory or this particular statement is very problematic, is very criminal, because you are saying that, okay, here is a person who was born and brought up, but now that he is a Rohingya, he has no right. So it violates several principles within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, especially Article number 15. And then there are so many other things in relation to United Nations, other kind of laws. For example, there are rights of children, there are rights of other things, associated with women and other things. But by denying all those things, so the government is saying, okay, you are not welcome and we don't accept you, no matter how you look at it. Okay, so it's very similar to ethnic cleansing, nothing short of it, because ethnic cleansing uses the same formula.
For you, it's genocide.
I would consider it as such, but it's a slow one, calculated one. They come in burst, then a pause, then it continues for several, after a few years again.
How can we reverse that flow?
History has been rewritten. If you check the Rakhine history, they had a kingdom. When there is a genocide, there are preconditions to have a genocide happening in a country, and there has to be a kingdom, and the people lost it, and they want to go back to that kingdom. So Rakhines are trying to get back to that independence, and Rohingyas are the first target to get rid of them, and they claim the entire place as their own. And then they are going to fight against the Burman domination, and then they are hoping for a miracle to happen, and they get back to their. So for now, they are fighting against the Rohingyas to claim the entire place for themselves. I think what we have a problem here is just that we are in Thailand now, and just to put this in the context, Burma says that these people are from Chittagong of Bangladesh. They are illegal immigrants to Burma. But you see, Chittagong is a very peaceful place, and the GDP and all those things are much higher. Although Burma is a big country, in Bangladesh the GDP is quite higher. So why should people go there when there is this oppression going on of the same type of people against this type of people? So these are all made up stories. Think about Thailand. Being a neighbor of Burma is not a pleasant thing. You have lots of refugees coming, and Thailand is a big sufferer. So Arakan produces refugees, and that goes to Bangladesh. So we have to fight together that this has to be stopped. One more thing though, there is an ideology behind it. The Rakhines have a Buddhism which is not like average Buddhism. They call Rakha Buddhism, which is to claim that Arakan is for the Rakhines only in the Buddhist understanding, which allows them to get rid of everybody. So it's a sect. It's not Buddhism, it's a sect of Buddhism which brings the monks in the fold to fight against anybody who is considered as outsiders.
Deep division has happened between Rakhine Buddhists and Rohingya Muslims. But Rohingya Muslims, of course, would like to get back and live in Rakhine state. How can they be both living together?
Obviously, several things could be done. Number one thing is addressing the 1982 citizenship law, which has virtually taken all their rights, so that they are considered to be illegals or foreigners. So that has to be repealed or amended. That way, not only the Rohingyas, but also a lot of other affected minorities.
For them to gain citizenship.
Exactly. The second thing is obviously, for years, the regime and the Rakhine intellectuals and leaders have promoted xenophobia, racism against these people. Very similar to the way, for example, you look at Germany during the Hitler era. So there was those recipes of fascism very much intact within Rakhine political discourse. If you look at, for example, any of the internet sites where the Rakhines are really writing things, you see so much hatred, intolerance against the Rohingya people. It's unbelievable. So we have to address that issue also. So the Rohingya issue cannot be solved without addressing those issues around intolerance. There has to be education telling the people, look, these Rohingya people are not aliens. They did not come from Bangladesh during the British era, nor after 1971 when Bangladesh came into existence. They have been living there for centuries, and it is in our history books. It is agreed on by great historians even today that have done lots of research that the Rohingyas have a claim older than even the Rakhine people.
Is citizenship law the only way for national reconciliation in Rakhine state?
Citizenship law is such an important thing. Let's say if you ask me what is the most important thing, I would say citizenship law. Citizenship should be restored. Citizenship should be restored, and citizenship should be restored. Because without that, there are foreigners in there, and foreigners, you can just do anything with the foreigner because they don't have any rights. Also want to address this, from the 1920s, there has been a movement going on. Not too many people know about it. Only lately we are becoming aware of it. To claim entire Arakan for the Rakhines only, and they are changing the history of Arakan and renaming places like Abied is now Situi,
even Arakan has become Rakhine state.
So everything, and then you have Rohingyas have been there from the 8th century, and then Rakhines entered Arakan in the 10th century.
200 years later.
200 years later, but the history book written in Arakan says that Rohingyas were not there. They are Chittagonian people, and they should all be thrown out.
And this is obviously revisionist attempt to rewrite history. And
Westerners are telling, I have seen some Westerners saying that it's as if like demolishing the history of Arakan, of other ethnic minorities in favor of Rakhines. Demolishing means not just erasing them, it's just getting rid of them. So demolition of the traces of Rohingya history is one thing, which is in the literary area, and there is physical demolition, which is burning their houses, torturing them, so so that they leave Arakan. It's fascism in pure and simple form, and it's genocide, of course, because they can marry, they can have reproduce, which is one, and everything is planned. It's not. There is, by the way, there is a book written by one of the professors who teaches in Japan. His name is H.N., Dr. H.N. He co-authored this book, which is called Influx Viruses. So Rohingyas are being branded as viruses, and when you have virus, if you don't get rid of them, they will finish you. So that bad, and vigilantes know about it, that these are dangerous people. If you don't stop them, if you don't get rid of them by killing or by exterminating them from the land, they are going to finish you.
If you argue for citizenship law to be introduced, to be reintroduced for endorsement of being citizenship of Rohingya, where the pressure should be coming from? Should it start from Muslim country that coming out and having protests to support Rohingya people?
My suggestion would be, it should have come from somebody like Suu Kyi to begin with.
From inside the country?
Exactly. And then obviously the entire region, ASEAN. ASEAN should take a lead on this, in a sense that it is a problem of ASEAN. And obviously if they fail, and probably they have not done as much as they should, then OIC or even UN. Problem is, what I am seeing is a pure case of racism that is equivalent to what I call is neo-Nazi fascism, and it is unacceptable in our time. There is no compromise on it. And if we let it go, it would be the greatest crime that we do to our people, to our generations.
What if the Myanmar government insists that this is an internal issue, domestic violence?
They cannot simply whitewash the crimes that have been going on under the pretext of, okay, the Rohingyas are outsiders. The history is all written about it. For example, that they are the indigenous people, and even Aung San himself made that statement. Then there was also saiddiqe, who was one of the founding fathers of Burma, and he himself said that if Rohingyas are not indigenous, nor am I. And he is a Shan leader, you see. So there is no way they can deny those. And better, I mean, the faster and sooner that the Myanmar government accepts them, it is better for everybody. Not only just for, the Rohingya people, but for, the Burman entire region. Otherwise, we would get into international situation which won't be to the likeness of anybody, Because when you corner a cat and he has no way out, it's going to bite back. As simple as that.
If the change has to start from inside the country, from internal politics, what do you see the possibility of opposition party and LD party moving from inside the country? Will it be possible?
It is possible, and it was the expectation from us that Aung San Suu Kyi would be dealing with it, especially because she has been very vocal about human rights and all those things. Talking about citizenship law, Rohingyas were declared stateless on the basis of 1823 law, 23 date, that they entered Burma with the British occupation, and they came with them. Whereas the fact of the matter is that Rohingyas were there. A British historian interviewed some Burmese people, and they said they are Rohingyas inside Burma, and it was in 1799. So if 1823 is the date when Burma was polluted by European or white people entering Burma with some brown people from India or Chittagong, Burma was already polluted because Rohingyas were there in the year 1799. So that doesn't apply. And by the way, this is a racist understanding of how to decide somebody's citizenship, because it's a kind of ethnic cleansing or purity of race. So this shouldn't be accepted by the international standard, because Burma lives in the 21st century, and when the president says we are going to go for democratic reform, you have to consider this first. Someone told me if you raise a Rohingya issue, you just ruin the entire thing. I said no. Constitution, the duty of constitution, work of constitution is to guarantee an individual's right. And if you cannot take the Rohingya rights, you don't have anything there. So Rohingya rights should be first shown, that we are dealing with every citizen's rights, and we are starting with the Rohingya case.
If nothing has changed at all, what will happen to the life of the Rohingya?
Miserable.
That's it. ทั้งหมดก็คือตอบโจทย์สำหรับวันนี้นะคะฉายภาพจากผู้รู้2ท่านนะคะนักวิชาการ2ท่านที่ศึกษาชีวิตของคนโรฮิงญาและหวังว่าจะมีกลไกจากประชาคมภายนอกเข้าไปเพื่อดูแลผู้คนที่กำลังเจอปัญหาความรุนแรงที่กำลังเกิดขึ้นที่รัฐยะไข่ค่ะ Thank you both of you for joining us ทั้งหมดคือตอบโจทย์สำหรับคืนนี้ค่ะดิฉันณัฐฐา โกมลวาทินสวัสดีค่ะ